I'm Teresa Carraggio, and this is Third Paradigm. My topic today is changing the story. In the last episode, I looked at changing the system and why I think that you can't change the system until you change the fundamental story. And if you change that story just in yourself, I believe that changing the system is something that will follow without us needing to do all the revolutions and things that they say we need to do. I think all we need to do is change that story. So I'm going to look at what that fundamental story is and a couple of examples of people who I think have done a brilliant and beautiful job of changing that story. I'll start by quoting from Caitlin Johnstone, where she's commenting on a conversation between Mitt Romney and Antony Blinken that Rising called, "Is Israel losing the PR war?" which they blame on TikTok. Caitlin writes, "Notice how he said the word narrative 3 times. That's how empire managers talk to each other because that's how they think about everything. This is because empire managers are always acutely aware of something that normal human beings are not, that real power comes from manipulating the stories, narratives that people tell themselves about their reality. They understand that humans are storytelling animals whose inner lives are typically dominated by mental narratives about what's happening. So if you control those narratives, you can control the humans. They understand that power is controlling what happens, but true power is controlling what people think about what happens. They understand that whoever controls the narrative controls the world." Romney and Blinken end by noting that if they can't control the narrative and people can speak freely, they'll never be able to launch another war, which Caitlin finds a stunning admission. What is this false narrative at its origin? How did it start? I see it as the tree of judgment, the concept in the Bible that there are good and bad people. There is good and there is evil. And our job is to make sure that the good people are in charge, the people like us, not those other people. This is something that I find in fiction, which is something I am addicted to, especially things like science fiction and fantasy. My favorite kind of story is one where the villain turns out to be the one that they need to save them. And I think the most horror story that really gets me is the one where someone you think is good suddenly turns out to be evil. If we look at other people as being just like us, people who want the best for everyone, then we don't need to control the system. We don't need to make sure that our kind of people are in charge because we can trust that other people are going to be as caring as we are and will want to create something that takes care of each other, that we don't have to be the ones in charge. The 2 most powerful forces in the universe, in my opinion, are someone who changes their mind and 2 people asking the same question with more concern for finding the right answer than in being right. I believe that my Substack has a large proportion of people who are in both of those categories. The most difficult place to change your mind is when it involves your own identity, and those are the people I admire more than anyone. Someone who's written beautifully about this is Mary McLaughlin in her recent post called, "I'm tempted to title this, 'By God, I Hate Facebook.'" The irony of Mary's title will be revealed later. Mary begins by talking about her ambivalence towards the blue F, as she calls it, and how it used to make her feel like a failure when she would read about everyone else's thinly veiled humble brags and all their successes, and she would say, "Why them and not me? I mean, I was raising 3 kids, but that's no excuse." And I totally get that because envy is my go-to deadly sin. But Mary needed a pool schedule, so she thought, I'll just get in and get out. What could be the harm? And then there was that really nice guy that she had gone to acting school with his really nice wife, and thought, I'll just check up on them. His recent post was, I just don't get the appeal of Trump. Any thoughts? And in reading the responses, each one was more hate-filled than the last. Not so much against Trump, but against Trump's supporters. Then Mary tells her personal journey of being a blue state Waldorf school administrator, having one of the parents who was a Republican who she liked but thought, we could never really be friends because, well, we're just too different. And going through this process, and this is much more complex, and I really recommend reading it, but going through the entire vaccine fiasco and having everyone turn on her, where she became completely othered. And then having that same person who she calls Amy be the one that she could confide in, the one who was willing to listen, the one who was able to trade information and not be reactionary about it. This is something that she extends also to liberals, that she doesn't say, now those are my enemies, that she looks at what is it that is creating this conflict and why do we fall for it? And that's why she says she recommends Matt Taibbi's book, Hate Inc., Why the Media Makes Us Despise One Another, and quotes from the back cover, what most people think of as the news is in fact a twisted wing of the entertainment business. In the internet age, the press have mastered the art of monetizing anger, paranoia, and distrust. Here are the 10 aspects of manufactured hate that Taibbi identifies. 1, there are only 2 ideas. 2, the 2 ideas are in permanent conflict. 3, hate people, not institutions. 4, everything is someone's fault. 5, nothing is everyone's fault. 6, root, don't think. 7, no switching teams. 8, the other side is literally Hitler. 9, in the fight against Hitler, everything is permitted. 10, feel superior. Mary describes Facebook and other social media as vornadoes that fan the flames of hatred and whip them into a frenzy by surrounding you with people who all think the same way. Where once she was on Team Blue and everybody hated Team Red, including her, now she is surrounded by a lot of people who hate Team Blue. And both of those are impossible for her because she says, that was me. I know those are good people, but they have been misled. And we can't be misled in the same way. So being an outcast has made her question everything, especially those things designed to make us angry and hate. Does that mean we don't have people that we relate to more? To the contrary, Tonica of Visceral Adventures forwarded a delightful Instagram post that is a woman called the Alchemist who's talking about soul contracts. What she says is that every relationship you're in brings out a different dimension of you. You are always a different person. And it's not because you're being fake. It's because your dimension merges with theirs in a different way. I used to put this as different facets of my personality, looking at that as a cut stone, and that being able to meet with others on different facets, and the more that I had in common with them, the more connections and reflections that I have. The Alchemist says that when you like someone, it's not so much them, it is the reflection of your own dimension that they bring out in you. So it's that overlap, that way in which dimensions merge. This has added so much clarity to my life because I can see my role as being someone who brings out and reflects dimensions of other people that make them like themselves. But if I don't like the dimension of myself, there's no reason for me to waste my time because I have so many people who are bringing out dimensions of me that I didn't even know existed. And to follow up with my own personal journey with left and right, here is Appalachian Rage, and this is 6 Levels of Reality with Jeremy Gilbert. Thank you for being on both sides.